Okay, of course you know that diaspora remittance is meant, you know, to come from funds transferred by migrants to their home countries. They serve as a vital source of forex and economic support. In 2024, records show that remittances to Nigeria reached $20.93 billion, amounting to about 6% of GDP. Today, the CBN is thinking more ambitious. The bank is targeting a monthly diaspora remittance of $1 billion by the end of 2026. CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso made the disclosure in Abuja on Thursday at the first edition of the Monetary Policy Forum. Well, thinking big is a mindset and habits that involves setting audacious goals and overcoming self-imposed limitations. Wale?
Yeah, I think, first of all, we must agree that there is a paradigm shift in the policy of the CBN.
Okay.
Compared with what we have seen in the past 8 years. CBN is becoming more professional. It's becoming more focused on its traditional duties. It's becoming less politicized and being run by people who see the need to strengthen the CBN as the pillar of Nigerian economy. And I think that's why we are seeing a whole lot of reforms, because the CBN is central, you know, to the development of the economy. So you have a situation where the CBN governor, has his ass in politics, coming up with lots of policies that are driven by personal interests of the interests of vested political cartels. We are looking to have, it's going to affect the economy. Take the naira, for instance. We are given a deadline to change the old naira to new ones. And people rush to, to go and deposit their funds and all sorts of things to get the new one. And do you know that today we are still spending that old naira, even though we are giving deadline? People are giving loans to go into agric, to go into rice production. The same farmers were asked to contribute money to contribute 100 million naira for ammunition fee for the CBN governor who had wanted to contest. Nigerians were looking for foreign exchange to buy health products, medicine and all that. But the CBN governor was buying cars when there was scarcity of foreign exchange, new cars, because he wanted to become the president of Nigeria. So I think we have seen a lot of, a major shift in the policy focus of the CBN. I think this is what has happened in terms of remittances from our people in diaspora. It's a major intervention. Now we are talking about non-resident Nigerian ordinary account, non-resident Nigerian investment account. That means that if you are living abroad, you can actually operate domiciliary account here. And what that means is that it's going to rein in on the black market. Because once you know that if you have a domiciliary account, you are in UK, but you can have your dollar account in Nigeria, that is, a major boost to ensuring that people don't go into the black market to look for foreign exchange. And I think that if you look at the experiences we have had in the past, the remittances from overseas, which is about $600 million every month, it's not coordinated. People is just in a kind of, it's not well coordinated. But the CBN is trying to come in now to harmonize it so that there be a structure. And then we can monitor which money is coming in, which money is going out, who owns what account. And then this can also be part of the pool of Nigerian foreign external reserve. So I really commend what the CBN is doing. And I believe that we need to support him. These are major policy reforms that will help in stabilizing the Nigerian economy.
Mayor, Yemi Cardoso is Nigeria's 37th governor. His job rubs off on the other 36, if you see what I mean.
Absolutely, yes, because it's in charge of monetary policies and all that.
Yeah.
What he wants to achieve, I think, is achievable. Because
you think it's ambitious?
No, I don't think. I think it's achievable. Why it is achievable is because of the Japa syndrome. There has been an increase in the number of people migrating to different countries. And in all these countries, especially UK, US, and Canada, there are a large pool of Nigerians doing exceedingly well.
Okay.
In America, when you look at the Nigerian community, has the highest number of graduates than any other communities, foreign communities living in the US. A lot of them have good jobs. They earn well. So, and normally they have dependents in Nigeria. So your foreign remittances is one of the reasons why we will know how your people are doing very well outside the country. Countries like India and all that, they have huge amount of money as foreign remittances because they have their people all over the world. So, and that is what is happening to Nigeria. We have more people outside doing well, so they can afford to send money for different things. What we should do is, like he says, to make sure that the CBN gets more involved and let it be well coordinated so that we can encourage these people in diaspora to invest in Nigeria, not only in our stocks, but in other things, in properties and things that they can invest in without necessarily be here on ground, because they have that resources. They have that resources. Most of the money they send now has to do with the money they remit to their dependents. But we can let them do more by getting more involved in investment opportunities and all that. So, like I said, now we are on 600. To get to 1 billion monthly is something that because we have the pool of people that can make that happen.
That to be. It's no magic.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's thinking out of the box.
Yeah, that's quite creative. A lot of Nigerians abroad are interested in real estate. A lot of them they want to buy land. Some of them who are over 60, they are thinking of coming back home. So they need to have confidence in the economy. They need to have confidence that, they need to have trust that when they are sending money back home, the money is safe. And the best way is that they can also operate their accounts. You know, you can have BVN without necessarily coming to Nigeria. Unlike before, that before you can have BVN, you must travel to Nigeria and all that. So I think this is quite impressive. These are the things we have expected past governments to have done, but they refuse to do. So I think Cardoso is a core professional, and all we need to do is to give him support. All these efforts, at the end of the day, will impact on Nigerian economy, which was almost in a state of shambles by the time he came in.
Okay.
But let me add this. Cardoso has done well. Has done exceedingly well. In fact, when he first got there, I used to criticize him a lot, but he has done exceedingly well. What I think he should also work on is the naira, the exchange.
Okay.
I think that the naira is still undervalued. It should not be more than 1,000 to $1. So he should work on that, so that we'll be able to get a fair price for the naira in terms of exchange with the dollar. Now I believe that the naira is undervalued. So it's important for naira to get its real value. And I think it should not be more than 1,000.
Wally, in that regard, when Mr. Cardoso introduced the dual exchange rate, you know, and floating of the naira, he received a lot of flags from all around. Maybe people didn't understand where he was coming from.
I think people criticize him, we can't blame them. It was based on the shock experience we have had in the past, or such policies that are not matched with political will. You know, when such policies come, they are politicized, there are all sorts of fluctuations.
Okay.
But when it's implemented by a professional, it may take some time, but gradually you begin to see the impact, you know, of that kind of policy reform. And if you see what is happening now in the past few months, the naira is trying to strengthen itself back.
Yeah.
The shock was due to the, you know, since from June 2023, there was no provision for subsidy. People didn't realize that the former government had technically removed subsidy, though it was not announced. So there's no government that will have come in with that, would not have confronted that situation. So, you know, it was expected. But the ability to be able to reverse the trend gradually, I think is noteworthy. Not to run away from the fact that there are still a lot of challenges in terms of access of people to the essentials of life, especially medicine, especially accommodation, transport, accommodation, transportation, education, those problems are still there. But I think there is genuineness of purpose on the part of the current leadership of the CBN. So we should give them that benefit of doubt and hope that they'll be able to transform the economy as time goes on.
Mayor, you know, we have had many CBN governors over time, but one name that comes to mind is my late brother. By brother, I mean my countryman, Clement Isong. He was governor of the central bank when we fought a 30-month civil war. We didn't borrow a dime.
Yeah, because at that time, you see, we don't. At that time, Nigeria was still good. Though there was politics, but we didn't sacrifice competence. As at the time he was governor of central bank, Chief Obafemi Awolowo was the minister for finance. So we have competent people who know how to manage things and stop wastages. But over time, people who are not core economists were made CBN governor. And during the time of Abacha, when it was so easy for the head of state at that time to just write to the CBN and say, provide this foreign exchange for urgent state matters. And it will be provided. You understand? And we're not doing economics. But you see, the difference in Cardoso is that Cardoso is known like the headmaster. He's a very strict, old-fashioned economist. You know, he was in Lagos as a commissioner for budget and planning and economic planning. So he has that reputation of it, and he has done well. That's why we have to commend him, because when they came in, our foreign reserves was more or less not there. In fact, what we were claiming that was foreign reserves was said to have been used as collateral for different loans and all that. But they'll be able to do that. They'll be able to pay. They'll be able to build the reserves now.
I think we have up to 40, 45?
No, close to 50 now.
50
billion, yes. They'll be able to build the foreign reserves. Not only that, you know, the problem that they had with airlines who couldn't remit their earnings was almost about $700 to $800 million. They'll be able to clear all that. So you have to give it that. You have to give it to Cardoso that he has been able to put a framework in place. Don't forget that even recently he has to tell the banks to recapitalize, and almost all of them, except maybe 3 of them, are able to do that.
32 banks so far.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he has put measures in place to be able to stem the slide, and then now what they are doing is to consolidate. Like I said, I just want him to put more effort in making sure that the naira found its real value. Because part of the problem is that I still believe, I'm not an economist, but I believe that the naira is undervalued. Yes, at 1,300 and something, I don't think that is a true value of the naira.
I'm sure you have heard the story that the immediate past CBN governor refunded some money up or to the tune of 4 trillion naira. You are wondering what happened.
I think the CBN for many years was run by profiteers, racketeers. People who are just more or less like when, like you said, when you had a military rule, you know, maybe, you know, Uganda under Idi Amin, that's just other people to go and print, you know. Because how do you explain a former CBN governor being linked to about 753 housing units? Housing units,
you know, ridiculous.
That is more than the entire housing units you have at Ahmadu Bello University, University of Nigeria and Soka, University of Lagos, and University of Ibadan.
Put together.
All the Ionia universities put together. One person. So it was a ruinous, they had a very riotous mind, you know, very ruinous aspiration that is very difficult for one to explain. So I'm happy that that election turned around to, I mean, not in their favor, because they are also part of the cartel campaigning for particular candidates. If they had won, that CBN governor would have been there, and there would have been all sorts of efforts to cover up the atrocities committed. Yes. So we were bailed out of a very messy situation, and you know, it's not going to be easy bringing back to reclaiming the fortunes that have been lost. You know, it's really going to take time. Like in 2022, we had foreign reserve I think about $30 billion. Now we are talking about $50 billion. So you can see that once, because if your foreign reserve determines the level of international trust, how solvent you are. So it really matters. People don't understand. They just think, why are you keeping money abroad and that? It gives you a kind of investment trust, how people can have confidence to come into your country, to come and put their money in your social infrastructure and all that. So I think there is a whole lot of reform going on there. But just like we have said, whatever reform the government is carrying on, how does it translate to the cost of groundnut on the table? So the reforms are not involved.
Does it put more food on the table?
Yes, there should be a kind of linkages between the Ministry of Finance, the banking sectors, that they should also be compelled to invest in social services. In the past, NEPA had, housing for its workers. I remember at that time at, Jeba, NEPA had big estate for its workers.
Everywhere.
The discourse of today, do they think of that? Banks, they had farms. Banks invested in housing for their workers. Why are our banks not going into that? So these are the things that...
What went wrong?
What has gone wrong? Banks were investing in education, they were investing in social services, they are investing in housing. You can't leave everything for Lagos State government or Kano State government. The banks must also... And the CBN needs to drive them. Because if you are declaring profit running into trillions, and then you put it in your pocket, these are public funds. They are private companies, but you are performing public functions. So you also have to be... You need to be accountable to the people. Discos, in spite of this darkness we are talking about, they are making trillions. They declare trillions of profit in 2025. What are they doing with the money? What about their workers' welfare? In terms of housing, in terms of transportation? If discos are investing buses from here to Lagos, taking people from here to Ibadan, from Kano to public buses, will it not reduce the cost of transportation on the public? So the CBN needs to drive public institutions and private institutions to be able to also contribute to critical areas of the economy.
And so it is not out of place for the hangout to say kudos to CBN Governor.
Yeah.